Views expressed in the videos are my observation, analysis of events, persons based on principles of astrology. It's not my intent to predict, forecast absolute outcomes, only suggest how they may unfold. Nothing is set in stone. I could be wrong, but often I'm right. My desire is not to promote fear, only inform about what we see unfolding. It is our wish to prepare our subscribers for events that could affect them, their family, their goals, and their future, to help to prepare for what you may already feel suspect is happening, and to send a warning shot across the bow and raise a flag of concern. Our goal is to help, not hinder, in these perilous times, to inspire and offer possible direction, and to reveal that a greater plan and purpose are behind all that is happening. Eventually, we will see a brighter day. If you would like to show your appreciation for our work on these videos or this channel, and also the Knowing Whispers channel, you can always click on the word thanks at the bottom of all the videos. Hello everybody, it's Robert Cosmar of the Astrology for Those Awakening YouTube channel, and also the YouTube channel Wisdom for Those Awakening, as well as the Sunday morning class Wisdom for Those Awakening Conscious Knowledge. Today my video is, believe it or not, an astrology video, as well as a video where I am going to do my very best to explain to you why it is important that you find it within you to accept those things that you see unfolding without giving into fear. The title of this video is Donald Trump, the Oneness, and the Awakening. And what I'm going to show you here before I get into more detail about Donald Trump is one of the graphical images that I use in my teaching classes on Sunday morning. These classes are designed to try to help you to understand what it is that you are a part of, why things are happening to you, and what you can do about dealing with the fear. Okay? What you see here in the middle, which is kind of the basic title of this particular chart and video, is called the Oneness or the Conscious Universe. If you have listened to me talk about the universe in relationship to a deity, I refer to it as consciousness. Consciousness is the foundation, it is the essence, it is the everything of existence. It is the essence of who you and I are. When you take and put thought and emotion and imagination off to the side, we are conscious. The universe is conscious. Even science is beginning to agree that there has to be something behind the movement of protons, electrons, and all the other subatomic particles that indicate intelligence. Okay? So what I'm hoping to do in this particular video is to show you what you are doing to yourself and why it is that you hear so much about the awakening and what the awakening actually relates to. Okay? And I'll read some of this here, and I'll also explain it to you when I'm going forward. Okay? It is awareness of knowledge that is power. Okay? Maybe you have thought about that. Maybe you haven't thought about that. But the truth of the matter is that if we are trapped in our mind, emotions, and imagination, we feel limited. We feel restricted. In fact, we spend a great part of our time judging ourselves over everything, okay, beating ourselves up and wondering why we even do it, okay, which is what ends up filling up a lot of therapist chairs around the world, okay? When I take a look at myself, when I take a look at people in general, you could divide them up into unconscious or less conscious, or consciousness or more conscious, or as we like to call that, awareness. Okay? Under the heading of unconsciousness are individuals who are essentially pre-programmed. They don't know who they are. They feel that they do what they have to do because that's what they've been taught. Okay? And we're influenced to a great degree because of that limitation. Unconsciousness involves several elements of our consciousness. Okay? One of those being the ego, the mind, our emotions, as well as our imagination. And within imagination, you have fantasies, daydreaming, and to some degree, creativity. Memories, okay? Sleep, dreaming, death, the process of recycling of life, and the fear that goes along with that. And fear plays a big part in an individual who is unconscious. Okay, most likely they are afraid of whatever deity that they are worshiping, and they're also, even more importantly, they're afraid of themselves. They do not know how, nor will they, without some kind of situation happening, like a crisis, dare to go within and to take a look within inside of themselves. They don't know how. Okay? On the other side of this coin are those who have, probably through some life change or a crisis, a divorce, a job loss, a financial loss, a health issue, they have been forced into a state of vulnerability, into a state of feeling maybe helpless, a state of fear. And if they persisted until the full revelation of why it is that they have gone through what they've gone through, they have become much more aware of why they behaved the way they did, why what happened had the effect that it happened upon them. Okay? Now, one of the things that you have heard me talk about is this concept of reversely reflected inside out. Our unconscious is less conscious than our awareness or awakening awareness. In photography, the image seen through the lens is reversed from what the photographer sees in the lens on the plate and the camera. Okay? And in a sense, this is how we view life. We see it through the eyes of the illusion that our ego and our mind create, and not from the essence consciously within us. Okay? Up here, okay, duality creates the illusion of a separation between conscious and unconsciousness. In reality, there is no separation. Both are a part of the oneness of existence. And I know how hard it is to understand and to grasp and digest that. And it's one of those things that as you become more consciously aware, it becomes more obvious that that's what's going on. Okay? Some of the byproducts of awareness or being more conscious are intuition, telepathy, visions, revelations, astral travel, and also this concept of everlasting life, which I've said many times before. What I'm sharing with you here, I believe, is what Christ taught his disciples. He did not teach them how to build churches. He taught them consciously how to awaken, how to experience a oneness with existence that went beyond their doctrine and the teachings of that time. Okay, so this is kind of where we are as humanity. And it also explains why it is that everything that is happening now. One of the greatest things in the history of humanity is going on right now. And like those situations that I mentioned earlier, where you went through a crisis in life, only to realize after you got through all the emotion and vulnerability that you needed to learn something. This is what we see happening right now. This is why Donald Trump is doing what he's doing, why he's allowed to do what he is doing. Okay? Now, from a psychological standpoint, the problem with that is that because we live in this duality, we see things as being good, bad, right, wrong. Okay? From the standpoint of a higher place within you consciously, you will learn that there is no such thing as to what is happening. It's not good, bad. It's not right, wrong. It's not judgment. It is the fact that the universe is both light and darkness at the same time, and that the darkness serves the purposes of the light. Okay? So what I'm implying here for you to understand is that while Donald Trump has been permitted to do the things that he is doing exactly what our higher self, the universe, wants done. Because for humanity to progressively evolve forward, there are many things that have to occur. One of those is that a bulk of humanity must become more consciously aware and more independently responsible for the lives they create. As it is right now, most of humanity feel like they're a victim. They're a victim of the wealthy. That's why they're poor. It never occurred to them that the reason why they're poor is because they have ideas and beliefs contrary to what the person who is wealthy does. Plus, you can throw into their karma. You can throw into there a lot of other factors. The fact that karma, fate, and destiny enter into it. So it's not just that. But the reality of it is that in essence, in purity, we're all essentially born and given life with the same potential. Okay? But it's possible that the karma, fate, and destiny we have chosen is not to become wealthy, not to become famous, okay? Not to be in a position of power, because there are other things that we must experience and we must learn before we can handle the power that is given for being that aware, okay? To be consciously aware requires a process of surrender to where you are willing to see and understand that the programmed image that you accepted and was conditioned into you when you were born, okay, is an illusion or a created facade called an ego that is not your true identity. Okay? It's not who you really are. And what happens for most people that are caught in that illusion is when their desires are not met, they become bitter, angry, defensive, cruel, okay? Because they're not willing to learn the lesson that those events are trying to teach them. And they do not realize that they are punishing themselves because of the way they think about their life. If you are suffering, if you are punishing yourself, you are the one who is responsible for that suffering. You probably don't realize that. Maybe you'll never realize that. But that is the absolute truth. Okay? And as you become more consciously aware, you'll understand that. That will become obvious to you. Okay? That you have to change. Not the world, not somebody else. You have to change. You have to accept responsibility. Okay? The only thing that the universe can do and is doing is reflecting back to you in your life through the events that you go through, who you are, who you have become. Okay? And you have to decide if that's what you want for a lifetime. And truthfully, there's nothing wrong with that if that's what you want. There is no judgment by the universe if you choose not to become more conscious and more aware. Okay? But you will not reap the reward that you hope for if that's the case. Okay? So, again, the thing about Donald Trump, for those of you that are still wrestling with fear, anxiety, doubt, okay, is that Donald Trump, even in the condition that he is in, spiritually, psychologically, is fulfilling his karma, fate, and destiny, and the reason why he was born to be the person that he is. And the universe is not judging that. And I know that's really difficult to wrap your brain around. But once you understand that the universe is a wholeness, it is not divided. The division came about in duality because there was an inability to see these things as happening as a whole, okay, for the furtherance and evolution of society and of a person. They saw that as punishment or something you did to mess up, or some demonic entity or some Lucifer, has taken out on you. And of course, all those things are projections. And what I mean by that is that they're projected ideas as to what you think is happening, and they take away the personal responsibility for your life, which only harms you because you don't learn. Okay? So this time that we're going through is a time of great learning. And one of the things that, if you do it, you're only hurting yourself, is to hang on to this fear in your imagination of what you think Donald Trump's going to do and what you think he can do. Okay? And I can tell you from the standpoint of just conscious knowledge that more difficult times are coming, because there has to be an awakening of a certain volume of humanity. Okay? These times will not be more pleasant than what they are now. I can see where 2027 and 28 before the election can be extremely challenging and difficult. And if you are still being beat up in your imagination by fears that you think might happen but haven't happened, or something does happen and you think something worse is going to happen, that suffering is on you. Okay? Because if you have been given notification that you need to consciously evolve within inside of yourself, that you need to begin the path of inward reflection and understanding, you are being given ample warning by your guidance, higher self, your inner teachers, of how to deal with this, of how not to get caught up mentally and emotionally and in your imagination over what you think is going to happen. Okay? And how you're going to deal with these changes is something which, as you consciously grow within, you will begin to know and understand more of who you are, why you're here, what the path is that you're on, and what is the purpose that you're supposed to fulfill on that path. Okay? Some of you may be healers. Some of you may be teachers. Okay? All of these things are possible because we're talking about an immense conscious shift in humanity. And because it has been something that has been buried for so long, we don't understand fully the scope of what that means. Okay? We really don't. Even through the things that I have learned that have been revealed to me, I don't know the full scope of this transformation going on. But I do know it's happening. Okay? And I do know that it is supposed to happen for a lot of those that watch my videos. Okay? And this again is the reason why I have shifted what I have been doing. And as I mentioned in the last video, I'm going to try to do one astrology video a week to cover different things going on. Okay? But the bulk of my work at this time as a teacher of conscious knowledge is to help you to understand the changes you're going through, what it feels like, why something happens, what was the reason for this happening, this type of thing. This is what I do now when I counsel through the readings that I do astrologically, is I try to help to bring to consciousness for those that are my clients what the universe or their higher self is attempting to get through to them by or with. Okay? All right. So this is pretty much it. And the title again is Donald Trump, The Oneness and Awakening. And again, while it emotionally and mentally for many of you may feel like the most horrendous thing that you've ever been through in your life, please consider what I'm saying. Because in your best interest, it would be to not allow that fear, that imagination, govern and rule you. Okay? If you do, you will suffer for it. Okay? And by going within, you are not denying it. Okay? You're just consciously going to see some realities about life that you have been shielded from because well-meaning individuals felt that that was the right thing to do. However, it is given a distorted view of reality. Okay? A distorted view of life. A distorted view of death. Okay? All right. From the love of my life, CJ, my spiritual partner and best friend, I thank you for all of you who have stuck with me through all this, the changes in the last 8 years. I can promise you that I will not let you down or lie to you about these changes that are happening. Okay, and I'll do my very best to try to communicate to you what this means as it is revealed to me to the best of my ability. Okay, and give you hope and a sense of direction and hopefully help you to find your own sense of purpose. Okay, thanks for watching, and my next video that I'm going to be doing probably next week is going to be a very important video. It is going to be on the years 2027 and 2028 and the critical developments in that chart of the United States of America that tell me the most challenging and severe period of our evolution is going to be in those 2 years prior to the election and after it. So keep that in mind, and like I said, next week I'll have that out, and we'll just keep plugging away. Thank you for watching.